In the gleaming expanse of Rodeo Drive, where the afternoon sun cast a golden glow across polished storefronts and the air seemed perfumed with exclusivity, Helen Martinez walked with quiet purpose. At 67, she carried herself with the dignified bearing of someone who had weathered life's storms without losing her grace. Her faded blue cardigan and sensible shoes stood in stark contrast to the parade of designer outfits that surrounded her, but she moved with the confidence of someone who had long ago learned that true worth had nothing to do with labels. She paused before the gleaming facade of Lumineux, one of Beverly Hills' most prestigious boutiques. The window display featured handbags that cost more than her monthly pension, but today wasn't about shopping for herself. It was about finding something special for her granddaughter's graduation. Taking a deep breath, Helen pushed open the heavy glass door and stepped into a world that seemed designed to intimidate. Lumineux was a temple to opulence. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across marble floors, so polished they reflected the carefully curated displays like mirrors. The air was cool and scented with something expensive and subtle. Only a handful of customers browsed the merchandise, each attended by impeccably dressed sales associates who moved with practiced deference. Marcus Whitley, the store manager, noticed Helen immediately. From his elevated position behind the central counter, he surveyed his domain with the critical eye of someone who had dedicated his life to the pursuit and preservation of luxury. His tailored suit fit his trim frame perfectly, and his expression remained pleasantly neutral until he saw Helen touching a delicate silk scarf displayed near the entrance. "Can I help you find the exit?" he asked, his voice honeyed with false courtesy as he approached. "I believe Macy's is having a sale downtown." Helen looked up, momentarily startled. "Oh, no thank you. I'm actually looking for a graduation gift for my granddaughter. Something special." Marcus's smile remained fixed, but his eyes flicked dismissively over her worn cardigan and practical handbag. "I see. Well, our pieces start at around $4,000. Perhaps something more accessible might be better suited to your needs." "Price isn't a concern today," Helen replied evenly. "My son insists on treating his daughter to something exceptional." "Your son," Marcus repeated, his tone making it clear he didn't believe her. "How generous of him, and what does your son do that allows for such largesse?" "He's in the entertainment industry," Helen said simply, turning her attention back to the display case. Marcus gave a small, skeptical laugh. "Of course he is. Everyone's son in Los Angeles is in the entertainment industry. Let me guess, he's waiting for his big break?" A young sales associate named Sophia, who had been arranging a display nearby, winced visibly at her manager's tone. She caught Helen's eye and offered an apologetic smile. "Actually, he's been quite fortunate in his career," Helen said, her dignity unwavering. "Now, could you please show me your selection of watches? My granddaughter is studying film, and I thought something classic might mark this milestone nicely." "Our timepieces require a certain appreciation for craftsmanship," Marcus said, making no move toward the watch display. "Perhaps I could interest you in our catalog instead? You could discuss the options with your son and return if something seems appropriate." Helen's eyes, warm and patient, met his. "I'd prefer to see them today, if that's all right." Marcus sighed, making a show of his inconvenience. "Very well. Sophia can assist you. I need to attend to our regular clients." He gestured vaguely toward a couple browsing handbags across the store before walking away. Sophia quickly approached Helen. "I'm so sorry about that," she whispered. "Please let me show you our collection." As Sophia guided Helen to a display case filled with elegant watches, the door to Lumineux opened again. A tall man in worn jeans and a simple black t-shirt entered, his long dark hair partially obscured by a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. Despite his casual attire, he moved with a natural confidence that drew subtle glances from those around him. "Excuse me," he said to Sophia, his voice gentle but carrying a deeper resonance than expected. "I'm looking for my mother." Helen turned, her face transforming with genuine delight. "Sweetheart, I thought we were meeting at the cafe." "Thought I'd surprise you," he said with a warm smile, bending to kiss her cheek. "Found that book you wanted at the store down the street." Sophia stared, recognition dawning in her eyes, but maintained her professional composure. Your mother has been looking at our watch collection for your daughter's graduation present, she explained, her voice only slightly betraying her excitement. Perfect, he nodded, removing his sunglasses to reveal expressive eyes that had captivated audiences worldwide. Mom has impeccable taste. Marcus, noticing the interaction from across the store, frowned and began making his way back toward them, assuming the newcomer was someone Helen had called to create a distraction. Sir, Marcus began with barely concealed irritation, unless you're making a purchase, I'll have to ask you to. He stopped mid-sentence as the man turned fully toward him, recognition striking like lightning. You'll have to what? The man asked pleasantly, though something in his steady gaze suggested he had overheard Marcus's earlier interaction with his mother. I apologize for the interruption, Mr. Reeves, Marcus stammered, his haughty demeanor dissolving instantly. I didn't realize. We're honored to have you in Luminou today. A flicker of discomfort crossed Keanu Reeves' face at the dramatic change in Marcus's behavior. He kept one arm protectively around his mother's shoulders. Were you helping my mother find a graduation gift for my daughter? Your mother? Marcus repeated weakly, his complexion paling as he looked between them. We were just discussing options. Actually, Helen interjected gently, this young lady has been very helpful. Sophia, isn't it? Sophia nodded, trying not to appear starstruck. Yes, ma'am. I was showing your mother our celestial collection. They're our most elegant pieces, perfect for a film student with an appreciation for artistry. That sounds perfect, Keanu said, smiling at Sophia before turning a cooler gaze toward Marcus. Mom, did you find something you like? Helen pointed to a watch with a mother-of-pearl face and subtle diamond hour markers. This one reminds me of the constellation necklace your father gave me when we were young. It's beautiful, Keanu agreed. Classic, but not ostentatious. Marcus, desperately trying to recover, leaned in. An excellent choice, one of our finest pieces. For you, Mr. Reeves, we could offer a special. The listed price is fine, Keanu interrupted quietly but firmly, and I think Sophia should handle our purchase. As Sophia carefully removed the watch from the display and began preparing it for purchase, other customers in the store began to whisper, several surreptitiously taking photos with their phones. The atmosphere in Luminou had transformed completely, with all attention now centered on the unassuming man in the baseball cap and his dignified mother. Marcus stood awkwardly to the side, visibly processing how thoroughly he had misjudged the situation. When Sophia returned with the elegantly wrapped package, Keanu thanked her warmly and handed her his credit card. Actually, Helen said, touching her son's arm, I'd like to speak with the manager for a moment before we leave. Marcus stepped forward, his expression a mixture of dread and forced professionalism. Yes, Mrs. Reeves, how can I be of service? Helen looked at him thoughtfully. I wanted to tell you something about worth, Mr. Whitley. Her voice was gentle but clear enough that those nearby could hear. When I was a young teacher, I had students from all backgrounds in my classroom. The ones who struggled most weren't those with the least, but those who believed their value came from what they owned, rather than who they were. She glanced at her son with obvious pride. My son learned early that how you treat people when no one is watching defines your character. Fame found him later, but his kindness was there from the beginning. Marcus swallowed visibly. Mrs. Reeves, I sincerely apologize for my behavior. It was completely inexcusable. It's not about me, Helen replied. It's about the next person who walks through that door in worn shoes but with a full heart. They deserve the same respect as anyone else. Keanu, who had been quietly observing, added, Everyone has a story you know nothing about. Kindness isn't a luxury item. It should be standard practice. The store had grown completely silent, customers and staff alike witnessing the gentle but powerful moment of reckoning. Marcus nodded slowly, genuine regret showing in his eyes. You're absolutely right. I've lost sight of that fundamental truth. He turned to Helen directly. Mrs. Reeves, thank you for this lesson. I promise it won't be forgotten. As they prepared to leave, Sophia approached with their receipt. I've included our card with my direct number, she told Helen. If your granddaughter would like anything adjustments made to her watch, please call me personally. Thank you, dear, Helen said warmly. You know my son funds a scholarship for film students. Perhaps you could give me your information? You mentioned you're interested in production design? Sophia's eyes widened. I, yes, I am. I'm taking night classes at UCLA while working here. Mom's always finding talent, Keanu said with an affectionate smile. She has an eye for people with both skill and heart. As they walked toward the exit, other customers and staff members parted respectfully. Just before leaving, Keanu turned back to Marcus, who stood watching them with a chastened expression. The true luxury, Keanu said quietly, is being able to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of each day and know you've added more kindness to the world than pain. Everything else is just stuff. With those words, he held the door for his mother, and they stepped out into the California sunshine together. Marcus watched them go, then slowly turned to face his staff, all of whom were looking at him with new eyes. Without a word, he walked to his office and closed the door. When he emerged 20 minutes later, something subtle had changed in his demeanor. He approached Sophia first. You were right to treat Mrs. Reeves with respect when I failed to do so. From now on, we implement a new policy. Everyone who enters Luminu deserves the same excellent service, regardless of appearance or perceived status. Later that evening, as the store was closing, Marcus found himself straightening a display near the front window. Through the glass, he saw an elderly couple peering at the window display, clearly admiring the items but hesitant to enter. In the past, he might have ignored them or even secretly hoped they wouldn't come in. Instead, he walked to the door and opened it. We're still open for another 15 minutes, he said warmly. Would you like to come in and take a closer look? The couple exchanged surprised glances. Oh, we're just looking, the woman said apologetically. Our granddaughter is getting married next month, and we were just dreaming a little. Dreams are welcome here, Marcus replied, surprised at how natural the words felt. Please, come in. No pressure to purchase anything. I'd be happy to show you some options that might inspire you, even if you shop elsewhere. As he guided them through the store, sharing stories about the craftsmanship behind various pieces, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in years, the simple joy of human connection beyond transaction. Across town, Helen and Keanu sat in a modest diner they had frequented for years, the elegantly wrapped watchbox sitting between them. You didn't have to defend me, you know, Helen said, stirring her tea. I've encountered people like that manager my whole life. I know you can handle yourself, Mom, Keanu replied. You taught me how to stand up to bullies, remember? But sometimes it's nice to have backup. Helen smiled. That poor man nearly collapsed when he realized who you were. That's the problem, though, isn't it? Keanu mused. He changed his behavior because of who I am, not because of the principle. I hope he genuinely learned something today. People can change, Helen said, patting her son's hand. Sometimes they just need a mirror held up to see themselves clearly. You've always been that mirror for me, Keanu acknowledged, reflecting back my best self when I couldn't see it. Helen laughed softly. That's what mothers do, famous son or not. She glanced at the watchbox. Do you think she'll like it? She'll love it because it came from you, Keanu assured her. Your approval has always meant more than mine anyway. As they continued their meal in comfortable conversation, neither was aware of how quickly their encounter at Luminu was spreading across social media. By morning, Keanu's mom would be trending, with thousands sharing stories of their own experiences with judgment and status-based discrimination. Marcus sat across from the district manager in the Luminu corporate office, progress reports spread between them on the glossy conference table. These numbers are remarkable, the district manager said, reviewing the sales figures. Your store's revenue is up 16%, but what's most impressive is your customer satisfaction rating. It's the highest in the company. What changed? Marcus considered the question carefully. We implemented what I call the Helen principle, he explained. Every customer is treated with the same respect and care, regardless of appearance or spending potential. It turns out, people who feel valued become loyal customers, even if they can only purchase small items occasionally. The Helen principle? The district manager repeated curiously. Named after a woman who taught me that the most valuable luxury we can offer is dignity, Marcus said. It's transforming our culture, and word is spreading. People are coming in specifically because they've heard about our approach. As the meeting concluded, Marcus checked his phone to find a message from Sophia. She had been accepted into the film scholarship program and wanted to thank him for his recommendation letter describing her empathy and creative vision. Walking back to his store along Rodeo Drive, Marcus noticed a woman hesitating outside Luminue's doors, her clothing simple and her manner uncertain. A month ago, he might have ignored her or worse. Today, he smiled and held the door open. "Welcome to Lumineux," he said sincerely. "How can I help you today?" The woman's surprised smile told him everything he needed to know about the power of simple human kindness, the most authentic luxury of all. In the end, the story of that day spread far beyond a single luxury boutique. It became a quiet reminder that true worth can't be displayed in a glass case or worn on a wrist. While fame gave Keanu's words a special resonance, it was his mother's dignified response to disrespect that resonated most deeply with those who heard the story. As Helen had taught her famous son throughout his life, it's not about who you appear to be, but who you are when no one is looking, or when everyone is.